As a busy dad of four, a full-time employee, and an entrepreneur at the time, I didn't really have the time to sit down and create content. What I ended up doing was generating systems and processes that would allow my content creation schedule to be as tight-knit as possible to generate tons of different formatted content styles, whether it was an email, newsletter, or LinkedIn post, etc., etc. And this became so prevalent in my own media company that I was actually able to install these same systems to generate clients, hundreds of thousands of subscribers and followers and downloads and the like. One of my good friends, Dr. Drew Burns, who launched and scaled his podcast, the Fee for Service podcast, from zero to generating over 30,000 monthly listeners on a given month, giving him the opportunity to become a speaker as a dentist and have opportunities to launch his own digital product and be a part of communities that actually wanted to have him be a guest on their podcast. It was just a great opportunity for him, and it all started with podcast production. My name's Nico, and for the last 10 years, I've ran a media agency called NTS Media. The funny thing is, I actually started as an artist. So I started pursuing my own media and marketing back in 2007 as a budding and hopeful independent artist, Nico Santana. And so I started distributing my music on MySpace. I learned the tricks and the trades of becoming a digital marketer. Because of that, I learned how to record my own videos and obviously even my own audio and music. And so these skills were so easily transferable to just being a media content production agency that I started offering that as a service and did everything from music videos to weddings. I recorded videos for landing pages and even started to develop websites on the side for small business owners in my area. And I did that for a time, making ends meet, but at the same time, I had a full-time job. I was an entry-level customer service representative at a Fortune 100 company. And I quickly realized that I needed to cover my bases first. So I went back to school nights and weekends, all while having this media agency on the side. I had a family that I had to feed and take care of. So I scaled my income up with my corporate career first and was able to incubate a lot of my skills and talents there before really launching my podcasting agency. Back in 2019, I pivoted away from music and decided it was time to focus on what was most high impact for me and use my skills and talents to serve other people rather than serve myself. And so I launched a brand new podcast called the Musicpreneur Podcast. And quickly that podcast started generating income for myself and of course generating leads for my sponsor. But more importantly, it started impacting the people that I was interviewing and that I had on the platform. And that's really what made it worthwhile. You see, podcasting as a medium is great because you could sit down and have a conversation with another person that you probably would not have a conversation with had it not been for that particular platform that you cultivated. Whether it was somebody that you looked up to in your industry or a potential client or even an existing client and getting their testimonials and raving reviews, a podcast is a great way to have an actual genuine human connection type of platform, so to speak. And I'm sure I'm missaying that, but that's what it is. It creates an opportunity for two or more people to come together and to talk and have an actual conversation. And as an audience member, you sit there and you're like, wow, this is really cool because it adds that human element instead of this highly crafted, well-produced, which for the record, it can be that type of video or movie where, you know, nowadays people just don't trust anything that's said online. And so it's cool to just see people with their guards down and have a conversation from time to time. And so that's what podcasting did for me and for my clients. In fact, most recently, we were able to launch and scale a podcast for a 9-figure CEO from zero to 120,000 subscribers on YouTube alone and scaling his other social media through utilizing that 1-hour podcast and generating multiple pieces of content for LinkedIn, newsletter, and the like. And so the goal here was to create a content system that you could plug and play to any business owner who wanted to create a personal brand online. And so we crafted that system. We have identified different pain points for our clients, realizing that, you know, maybe it was a tech thing that they didn't want to, you know, have a high-end camera. And so we're like, no worries, like, let's go, you know, mid to low production. Let's start generating the content first, ideating on the avatar, refining your offer, figuring out what it is that's going to have the highest impact for you and your business. Because at the end of the day, guys, like, for me and like multiple other business owners, we're not sitting here trying to be the next influencer or content creator. We really want to impact people with our business. And so that's what I was after, and that's what I've been able to systemize and create processes around. Now, why is this important? Well, code and content are the new leverage, according to Naval Ravikant. This was posted about 6 years ago on his Twitter, and since then has been talked about and cited and quoted, I don't know, probably millions of times at this point in time, but it's the truth. You create one piece of content and it could sit on YouTube in an evergreen format. YouTube being a search engine, of course, you can have one particular thing continue to create, business leads for your business, generate interest around who you are, what problems you solve, what people you serve, and the like. And so I found this with music years ago before anybody was really on YouTube like that. And I realized that it was just a matter of having an incorrect offer and serving myself at the end of the day. And I realized that I needed to serve other people with my content. And that's really what started shifting for me back in 2019. But the beauty about the podcast machine for me, and this is what I've patented and kind of created with my team, is that I've taken the principles of Fortune 100 thinking, right? So when I was in a Fortune 100 company, I scaled from the customer service representative that I was for about 5.5 years. Eventually, I started learning about other roles within the company, and I started to prepare myself for them and interview, and scaled my my career there. And I became a business process owner and saw how they optimize these huge kind of systems, touching and impacting millions of customers, and how we were able to create better efficiencies, reduce certain risks, right? Implement new methodologies that would ultimately impact the member, save them money, and that sort of thing. And so for me, I'm like, wow, this is great. Like, what if I could do some of this stuff with my agency? How would I impact my processes to create more efficiencies, pass the savings onto my clients, and allow them to have higher impact results? And that's what we did. We were able to serve multiple clients all the while I was working a full-time job. In fact, the demand for this type of service became so much that I had to quit my job to go all in on this podcasting service. And now I'm in a position where I can actually say that for the last year, we've refined the process so much that we're confident in our ability to sit with you and talk to you to install our content generating system. But it's more than content, and that's the thing. Even though content is an amazing leverage and will be, that door of opportunity is closing quick. And I know that, and I realize that. With the dawn of AI, anybody can be a content creator and generate hundreds, if not thousands, of pieces of content with less effort. So it's not just about creating content, it's about creating the right content and creating the right systems in place as well. Because you may be posting content on Instagram day in and day out, see little to no results. So you're missing the mark, right? Or you may be posting a LinkedIn post here and there and not seeing new clients. You're missing the mark. And so at the end of the day, it's not just about creating content, but it's about creating an actual system that will allow you to build awareness, build trust, and eventually create lifelong customers. With the clients that we've served, from a 9-figure CEO to a dental practice owner, I know that the efficiencies that we built in, taken from the principles of both software engineering and business process optimization, are readily available. I think it's important and imperative to really leverage your time efficiently, and I'm all about that. And so that's what we focus on here with NTS Media. Now, I'd love to sit here and tell you exactly what the process is, so I'll do a little bit of that here, but at the end of the day, it would serve you better to sit down with us and have a custom crafted plan discussed at the end of the day. So the first thing is create your highest impact, highest leverage form of content first. Don't go into, making a tweet or doing a quick Instagram reel if at the end of the day you could sit down and actually craft a longer form piece of content that you can then repurpose multiple times and create better, more refined ideas in the long term. In fact, this is not scripted for me, so I'm sitting here just talking from my experience. And so what I would suggest is having a longer form piece of content. In my opinion, the podcast medium is the best. Why? Because you can have another guest in there. You can have somebody who is a former client or somebody who you would aspire to have as a client. Maybe it's just somebody who you look up to, right? As long as they fit within kind of the overall avatar and the framework of your offer, your industry, your niche, that serves your clients, that serves your audience, that serves, ultimately ends up serving your business, your employees, their families, so on and so forth. So again, podcasting, because of that conversational style, and also because you can have longer form monologue type of video formats like this, and you can extract the audio from it, you can transcribe it, and then take pieces of that transcription to generate smaller posts, clips even, LinkedIn posts, email newsletters, and the like. And so that's what I would suggest. Create your highest impact content first. From there, what we do is we take that and then we scale it across multiple platforms. So we use different tools in order to do that. And we don't just stick to the default settings on these tools, right? We actually go in there and add the human element to it. Because at the end of the day, like, even though AI is brand new and everyone's excited about it, there's still things that need to be worked on. It enhances your ability to create and craft content, but it doesn't necessarily fix bad content. And so that's why you have to have the human element there in place. within these frameworks and be able to put out quality content that actually resonates with your audience. And then of course with the ultimate knowledge of knowing who your avatar is and who you're speaking to, depending on what your end goal is with that. And so we've created that system, high impact content, repurposing using not just AI tools, but also understanding the human element to it as well, then distributing that piece of content. All of this creates what's called brand awareness. Now, it's a game of impressions at the end of the day. If you're in sales, you call 100 potential prospects to get 3, 4, 5 closed deals maybe, depending on your closing percentage and your industry average closing percentage and that sort of thing. When it comes to content, you want to generate as many impressions as possible. So from the organic side of the house, creating more content increases the ability to have higher impressions. If you post 10 times a day and each one of those posts gets 1,000 impressions, that means that content has been seen or viewed 1,000 times. But if you only post one time, then of course, you're only going to have that 1,000 impression versus the 10,000 impressions on my earlier example. You can definitely oversaturate a market, so you don't want to do it excessively to the point that it actually, makes you annoying or seem desperate. But at the end of the day, when you have that fine line and that fine dance with content distribution, you can create a platform with the right eyes and ears to serve your audiences and then eventually attract the right type of buyer for your product or service. From there, you want to nurture your audiences. So this is really where continuous posting, kind of that long form content, go into play. With the long form content, with podcasting specifically, we've seen that so long as you have a defined audience, a niche offer, and really a refined kind of target that you're aiming to hit, at that point in time, it doesn't matter how big your audience is. What matters is that you know who you're speaking to. You could speak to a room of 10 really interested buyers and all 10 of those become buyers that same day, or you could speak to a room of 1 million people who don't know you from Adam and could care less about your offer, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day if you have a huge platform because you're speaking to a void. And so what we do is we refine the person and the messaging that you're talking to, or rather the person that you're talking to, and in doing so, obviously the messaging. And once we've crafted that with enough repetitions, this is the important part. Consistency and accountability is another aspect of that nurturing sequence that we implement with our system. That way we know how to refine and define your particular messaging so that it continues to hit your audiences the right way to continue to nurture them. Eventually, you want to get to the place from brand awareness, nurturing, so brand growth and awareness, nurturing your audiences, to conversion. And this is really where you ask for the sale. And so that can be done multiple ways. We've seen it done where it's done internally, where the person will actually have some sort of sequence or funnel where they'll take their audiences from the shared audience networks like YouTube and LinkedIn and other social media platforms to an email newsletter, which is a little bit more owned, and they do 100% of the selling there. Of course, there's outbound campaigns and there's an opportunity for that. But once you created a solid brand, you can leverage your brand to have greater results with your outbound campaigns online. But you don't need to overcomplicate this process, and that's what I found a lot of business owners do. They either overcomplicate the process or they don't sit in the process long enough. So for us to work with you, we would really need to refine who your avatar is. We'd have to figure out what your end goal is, your offer, and how we can actually install our content system, which we call the podcast machine, into your business to ensure most efficiency, highest impact, and highest results. So if you're interested in something like this, if you want to implement it yourself, by all means do it. But we've taken over 10 plus years of content marketing and obviously summarized it here in 20-minute video. But more importantly than that, we can actually take that information and then implement the system into your business so that you can worry about doing the heavy lifting on the thing that you're good at and allow us the opportunity to do the heavy lifting on what we're good at here at NTS Media. If you like content like this, I'll be dropping more videos on this YouTube channel, so feel free to subscribe, share it with a friend, like it, all that good stuff, engage with it. But at the end of the day, I hope you got some value out of it. Feel free to book a call with me here in the link below, and we can talk about how we can install the podcast machine system to your business today.